Hello and welcome to Fresno State Focus. I'm Christina Ledesma.
And I'm Mark Anthony Lopez.
With mask mandates on the verge of being lifted, local school districts are putting new rules in place. Ryan Jones shows us the changes.
Dos Palos Elementary.
The rules regarding COVID-19 are ever changing, and with that comes confusion among staff, parents, and their children. The most recent change, the governor has lifted the mask mandate in public schools.
For the children, it's not going to be anything but positive. Having to try and learn and communicate with your mouth covered is very difficult for young children.
Now that masks are off the table and off students' faces, we may be seeing a return to normalcy. Isn't that right, class?
Yeah!
Other new rules include if a student tests positive and the teacher comes into contact with this student, the teacher does not have to use a sick day. But if the teacher gets the virus from outside the workplace, COVID is treated as any other sickness. This rule is controversial for teachers.
My own husband just got COVID, and thankfully I didn't get it, but I guess if I had, my sick days apparently under the new rule wouldn't be covered, which is kind of, I feel, not fair, because it's not our fault that this pandemic is happening.
Despite some pushback, most are happy to return to the way things used to be.
I think anytime we can get students in seats in school, it's going to have a positive effect on students. I believe that we're following, everybody's being safe, we're keeping things clean, and kids just get sick as a norm, and that kids need to be in school.
Bye-bye masks, hello smiles. At Dos Palos Elementary, Ryan Jones, Fresno State Focus.
The CDC still recommends that children over the age of 5 get the COVID vaccine.
The Omicron variant swept through the United States during the holidays, leading to more urgent requests for booster shots. In doing so, it fueled an ongoing debate of vaccines and their effectiveness. Adrian Robbins takes a look at whether the vaccine is actually worth getting.
With hospitals overrun and medical personnel stretched to the limits, the topic of vaccines rages on. Do these vaccines work, or are they all for nothing?
We asked a few people if they think the shot helped them when they got COVID.
I really do, especially being a little bit immunocompromised because I do have asthma. So that's a respiratory thing, obviously, and COVID is as well. So it's very likely I would have been hospitalized if I didn't have my vaccine.
Alex Mullins caught COVID at a company Christmas party and was scared for her life because of her asthma.
I'm feeling fine now, pretty much back to normal and going back to work, and everything's pretty much the same as it was before.
But some people are hesitant to get their shot, like Scott Robbins, who held off originally. Experts have theorized that this may be a reason why the second and third waves swept through the U.S.
Originally held off. I was mostly wanting to get more information, waiting for more time to go by to see what kind of side effects could be possible.
Others have been waiting to not only get their shots, but also their kids vaccinated. Like Nicole Solonio, a single mother of 2.
I was exposed at work like 4 days after I got my booster, so I don't think it had time to really do its thing. So yeah, I brought it home. But with them, my youngest was down for maybe 3 days, and my oldest had the sniffles for a day.
This has been a trying time for everyone, and maybe the vaccine doesn't work, and maybe it does, but for these people, they thought it helped out in the long run. In Kingsburg, Adrian Robbins, Fresno State Focus.
Scientists say vaccines work, and these people agree, even if they didn't at first. Right now, the vaccination rate here on campus is 90%. A 4th COVID shot could possibly be needed this fall. As COVID numbers continue to drop in the United States, finally has the end the pandemic in sight. The FDA is looking into data that suggests a 4th COVID shot might help the general public. As of now, the FDA is not recommending the 4th vaccine for healthy people.
People who are immunosuppressed should be going and getting a 4th shot because their bodies are less able to produce that protection that the rest of us have.
Health officials say eventually we may get to a point where the COVID vaccine will be similar to the yearly flu shot. There is no word on when the 4th vaccine will be distributed, but it could be as early as this fall.
For students who opted out of receiving the vaccine, Fresno State requires weekly COVID testing. Fresno State's on-site testing center has moved to a new location. It's in the back of the rec center next to the Save Mart Center. If you are experiencing symptoms, there are dedicated parking stalls in front of the rec center. Call the number on the board and someone will come to you directly. The testing site is open, but at different times and days, so always check ahead before going. This coming Sunday, March 13th, will mark the 2-year anniversary of the campus COVID lockdown. Fresno State canceled 33 on-campus events as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. That was also the last day of in-person instruction until August 2021. This Saturday, California will repeal its mask mandate in schools. A lot was unknown 2 years ago, such as how difficult online learning would be.
So I've always liked in person. Virtual, I fall asleep in class, or I just don't even pay attention. It's not the same as in person.
There are still things unknown at this point in the pandemic. Some students believe they are almost on the other side, and others believe progress is coming gradually. More events and places are returning and reopening on campus. It feels like the return to normalcy has begun.
COVID-19 put a halt on a lot of clubs' plans at Fresno State, but all is not lost. In fact, clubs are getting back to normal.
The Bulldog Board Game Club is a new club. It started during the pandemic. The president, Tyler Carlo, wanted to share his love of board games.
The club president says clubs are more important now than ever.
You know, it's been a rough time in our country these past couple years. And just to see people organize and just band together for anything.
Coming together sounds like a team. The Women's Rugby Club is tackling back at the pandemic.
We were out here every day of the week. We were here in the quad, at the dorms, in the rec center, everywhere really pushing recruitment. So we actually got a record of over 180 emails.
The Print and Glory Club is also designing a way to boost morale.
This semester I want the club to be more out there and getting more people and get involved in the club and just exposing printmaking to Fresno, basically infecting people with art. That's what I want to do.
Every club has the opportunity to apply for a lottery to have a booth created outside of the student union. 27 winners will be announced at the end of the semester. All of these clubs are continuing to progress through the semester despite the pandemic. James Mora, Fresno State Focus.
Small businesses in the San Joaquin Valley are being impacted by COVID-19 regulations every day. However, some manage to survive. Alexis Molina speaks with 2 business owners.
Ariel Mora is the owner and creator of Ariel's Party Designs. Before the pandemic, she created backdrops for special events like birthdays, baby showers, and graduations. But during the pandemic, her services quickly expanded.
My mindset during the pandemic was just trying to find new ways and new things to put out there because parties were something that was such a big thing for us.
Mora added drive-by party backdrops, balloon mosaics, arrangements, and garlands, just to name a few, making her business blow up.
Another little thing I like ordering from her is the balloon arrangements. You know, they're small, they're cute, and it just really brightens up somebody else's day.
Another owner who had a pivot from the original business plan was Johnny Johnson, owner of Elite Athletic Transformation. Despite the pandemic shutting down gyms, Johnson was determined to keep his business going.
I have to do, and in order to be able to do, you have, as crazy and as simple as it sounds, you have to figure it out.
Johnson decided to hold workouts at stadiums, parks, and even his own backyard. He began to implement new features to his training, like focusing on the form and speed of his athletes. Despite these hard times, these entrepreneurs were able to make their businesses stronger than ever, making this year one of their best. In Madera, Alexis Molina, Fresno State Focus.
Around 1/3 of small businesses in the United States have closed since the start of the pandemic. Nearly 40,000 of those businesses closed in California.
With sunny skies and 70-degree weather, many people are getting ready for warmer temperatures rather than bundling up in jackets compared to other parts of the country. It all started when the groundhog predicted more winter, but was his prediction correct?
Lustrous, 6 more weeks of winter.
The groundhog predicted 6 more weeks of winter, but that was in Pennsylvania. It is a different story here in the San Joaquin Valley. Fox 26 weatherman Justin Willis tells us the average temperature around this time.
Our normal high this time of year is supposed to be right around 60, so like 59, 60, 61 degrees. And for us to be at 76, that's pretty warm.
Warm temperatures seem to be coming earlier this year than usual. In other states like the Midwest and East, they are still very much experiencing winter weather.
Born in Fresno, where the winters were usually dry and we never got to see snow. At least over here in Austin, ever since I moved, we've already experienced 2 snowstorms, which is pretty awesome, but it's getting old actually really fast.
The most popular groundhog ceremonies are held more on the other side of the country and not so much on the West Coast.
Yeah, that's mostly for back east, because as you've seen out here, winter was over, like it was pretty much that day.
As you can see out here, the sun is shining bright. With some record-breaking temperatures at the beginning of February, some people are quite excited for the warmer weather.
This winter was pretty cold considering, but I'm happy that it's finally getting into that nice 70-degree weather, so I can spend more time outside.
Sunny one day and cloudy the next. It's safe to say you should not put away your jackets or sweaters just yet.
Coming up on Fresno State Focus, we have updates on Ukraine and refugee numbers. Many are coming into the San Francisco airport. You can see the desperation that they are facing as they flee their homeland.
Plus, we have clear skies all week, great for spending some time outside. I'll have your forecast when we come back.
At Fresno State, being bold means committing to something greater than yourself. It's learning by doing and nurturing leaders to advance our shared future. It's using research to create a better life for those around us and healing those who need us most. These are our stories, because at Fresno State, bold begins here.
Success. At Fresno State, it's no secret. It's discovering new ways to change our world. It's creating opportunities as diverse as our community itself. It's in the distinction of our graduates as they lead us into the future. Success is no secret at Fresno State. It's our mission.
Hello, I'm Alexis Molina with your Focus on Weather. Now, this shot behind me was taken around 11 a.m. today of the Margie Wright Diamond. And as you can see, the skies are very clear and very sunny, perfect for our spring sports. Now, as we take a look at our nationwide satellite, you can see that on the East Coast, there is some rain going on. But as you look at the West Coast, it's dry for the most part. Now, looking at California specifically, you'll see that it's clear for the most part. There are some clouds going on, but nothing crazy. And as for today's highs, so Stockton has a high of 72, Shaver has a high of 50, and we have Porterville with a high of 61. As for the lows, Stockton has a low of 44, Shaver with the lowest low of 30, and Porterville with a low of 38. The air quality today is great, so make sure you go out and get some fresh air. Now, looking on for what's going on the rest of the week, the next few days are going to be sunny. Today we have a high of 71 and a low of 44. Now, you might be wondering why there's a clock there on Sunday. That's just a reminder that it is daylight saving time. Make sure you move those clocks back an hour. I know some of us might be sad that we're losing an hour of sleep, but good news is that we're getting more sunlight. And that is your Focus on Weather.
Saturday's rain was good, but the San Joaquin Valley is in need of rain. This month could be the last chance to catch up on rain and snow. The month of December
desperately need a miracle March, meaning
we
lots
got
of
more
rain
than
and
4
snow
inches of rain and 16 feet of snow. But since the record-breaking month of December, with the exception of some rain last weekend, we are in a serious dry spell.
We desperately need a miracle March, meaning lots of rain and snow for the month of March. Our typical rainy season here in the valley is January, February, and March. These are our typical wettest months.
At the beginning of the year, the snowfall for the Central Sierra was 165% above normal. Now it's 35% below normal, pushing California further into another drought year.
Have you gotten a chance to visit the Orchard Blossom Trail? If not, you may want to soon, as the blossoms are predicted to start tapering off in the upcoming weeks. This 34-year tradition allows visitors of all ages to come view and take pictures of the blossoms. The property itself is privately owned. However, taking a picture from the shoulder of the road is allowed as long as it is done safely. If you go to goblossomtrail.com, you can find more details on special dates and about the trees themselves. Let's go check out those blossoms with Fresno State Focus reporter Noah Chavez.
Thanks, guys. I'm standing here with Brendan Black, someone who knows a lot more about Fresno agriculture than I certainly do. Now, Brendan, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come speak with us about the Fresno Blossom Trail. What is the Fresno Blossom Trail?
You know, that's a great question, and thanks for having me on. The Fresno Blossom Trail is a collection of orchards of different fruit trees that are beginning to blossom and expose their flowers. That way they're receptive to pollinators like bees to help them grow their fruit.
So basically what you're saying, it's a time of the year where the orchards are becoming more susceptible to having nectar retrieved from bees and possibly creating fruit. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So it takes place typically from February to the end of March. It could be anywhere in that springtime, but it typically happens after heavy rain or around the time that the weather starts to warm up a little bit.
Now, what type of fruit will we be seeing coming from these orchards? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in the Central Valley, we grow a variety of fruits, obviously. Some of the fruits that we're beginning to see blossoms for right now are almonds, citrus, nectarines, peaches, as well as plums.
Okay, plums. I love plums. Do you know when plums are going to be able to fall from these trees and be collected so that we can eventually eat them?
Sure. So the blossoms may end somewhere around the March or April time, like I mentioned. However, the plums will actually be ready to harvest somewhere around the late summertime, I would guess July, maybe August.
Okay. Now, my final question would have to be, they are certainly beautiful, aren't they?
They definitely are. I would definitely recommend anyone who has the time go out and see these blossoms if they get.
Thank you, Brendan, so much for taking time out of your day to come speak with us. Reporting live here at the Fresno State Orchards, Noah Chavez, sending it right back to you guys in the studio.
The COVID-19 pandemic has local business owners struggling to stay in business. With some closing their doors for good, Carl Cook introduces us to two business partners managing to keep their door open.
Just south of downtown Fresno, two business partners are working under the same roof. Allegiance Auto Machine and Casey Auto Repair have been open for a combined 60 years. Casey Auto takes care of the general labor of vehicles, like maintenance and removing and replacing parts. Allegiance Auto Machine works on the engines themselves, like heavy steam cleaning engine parts and also maintaining crankshafts. Both businesses are going through hard times recently, as supply shortages and delivery delays have slowed down production. Glenn Bullock said there was a moment when he considered closing his doors for good.
You know, it got pretty tight, and you know, it was always a possibility of closing up and calling it quits because you just weren't making it.
Finding employees with automotive experience was another hardship that both businesses struggled with. Frida Moreno has concerns for Casey Auto when it comes to the money side of things.
Like I say, it has hit us so hard. I'd say we have declined financially by about maybe 60%.
Moreno has optimism that no matter what, Casey will continue to run thanks to the owner's positive reputation.
It's always been a word of mouth business. And he excels at what he does. He's good at what he does. And his customers really admire him. They really trust him.
Even through the recent hardships, Casey and Allegiance Auto are doing everything they can to keep their door open. Carl Cook, Fresno State Focus.
Despite their optimism, Casey and Allegiance Auto are hoping they can at least make it to the end of the year.
As the conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues, Russian weapons are being targeted more than just people. Recent images show a missile was found in Ukraine at the zoo. The missile made an impact on the concrete, there was a little bit of damage, and the zoo director said that no animals were hurt and that every animal and person is safe. More than 1.5 million Ukrainian refugees have fled their country as the conflict continues. Some of the citizens headed to San Francisco. They got emotional after landing safely in America and reuniting with loved ones. Although they made it here safely, there are still millions left behind. For those interested in helping, the best ways to do so are through volunteer work or donations, which can be found at gooverseas.com.
With Fresno State students back on campus, so is crime. The Fresno State Campus Police Department wants students to be aware of their surroundings as they return to campus. Campus police are seeing bikes being stolen and cars being broken into.
If you have a bike or a scooter that you're locking up, that you're locking that up appropriately with a good lock that can't be broken easily.
Students can take extra precautions to prevent their things from getting stolen. If you have a bike or scooter, you can put it in the bike barns on campus. All you need is your student ID. It's also important to lock your car and take your backpack and personal items with you. If you must leave them in your car, it's recommended that you hide them and keep them out of sight. Coming up in sports, the women's basketball team competed in Las Vegas to close out their season. We'll see if the Cavenders' 21-point game was enough to overcome the Aggies.
Plus, an NFL player has been suspended for gambling. Stay tuned for sports with Ryan Jones.
Here in the valley, our colors are blue and our waves are red. Bulldog born and bulldog bred. Generations linked forever by traditions that have stood the test of time. Inside our stadiums, we are one. This is our valley. And this year, we're doing it for you.
At Fresno State, being bold means committing to something greater than yourself. It's learning by doing and nurturing leaders to advance our shared future. It's using research to create a better life for those around us and healing those who need us most. These are our stories, because at Fresno State, bold begins here.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Jones. The season is now over for the Fresno State women's basketball team. They closed the season in Vegas for the Mountain West tournament. The women competed against Utah State in the first round on March 6th, a team that they had played just days before. The Dogs started off strong, but were not able to hold back the Aggies. Fresno State was defeated by Utah State 80-75, ending their season. The Fresno State men's basketball team had quite the roller coaster of a season with injuries and close losses. They now look to put all that behind them and close out the year strong, as Tyler Van Dyke shows us.
The Fresno State men's basketball team lost key players midway through the season. The Bulldogs needed someone to step up. Fresno State guard Anthony Holland was one of 3 players to embrace this challenge.
When we lost such big pieces to our team, you know, everybody had to step up in their very own way. And I felt like I did have to step up and help my team.
The second player to step up was Brazilian native Leo Colomario.
I feel like just bringing like a little bit more energy, which I needed to bring. That's my role in the team, bring more energy on the defense end, grab some extra possessions for us. So I feel like the most thing I improved on was more like my rebound.
The last man up was the big man himself. Orlando Robinson is being touted as one of the best overall players in the country, landing himself on several National Player of the Year award lists. Robinson averages 19 points per game, making him the leading scorer of the Bulldogs. But for him, it is not about his personal accolades. It's about the success of the team.
All those accolades and personal achievements are very important, but winning basketball games with my team is the top priority. So I recognize them, and then I just continue to move forward with my team, and then we just continue to do what we do.
With rising stars like Holland, Colomario, and Robinson, the Bulldogs look to lead the way into the Mountain West tournament and end the season on a high note. This is Tyler Van Dyke for Fresno State Focus.
The Fresno State baseball team is headed to the Bay Area after falling to the Utah Utes on Tuesday by a score of 5-4. The Bulldogs were led by Zach Morgan with 3 hits, and Mason Grotto contributed with 2 RBIs. Kyle Pushmeyer was the losing pitcher. This brings the Dogs' overall record to 6-6. Their next game takes them to the Bay Area, where they take on the University of San Francisco. The Dirty Birds will be without one of their best receivers. Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley is suspended for the entire 2022 NFL season. Ridley is accused of betting on games during the previous NFL season. That is one of the most significant violations of league policy. The earliest Ridley could apply for reinstatement will be February of 2023. Bulldogs softball came away with a couple of wins this weekend at the 2022 Judy Garman Tournament. This includes wins over University of Pennsylvania and LMU. The Bulldogs are now 3-15 on the year and are hoping to get things back on track by upsetting UCF. The last time these teams met, the Knights came away with a 6-1 victory in Florida. This time, the Dogs look to defend Margie Wright Diamond tonight at 6. And finally, a new show is coming to Fresno State Focus Studio. Focus on Sports is making its official debut this semester. The show will be based around sports highlights, the latest news around Fresno, state athletics, and local major league teams. Be sure to tune in to Fresno State, to Focus on Sports tomorrow at 9 on CMAC and FresnoStateFocus.com. And that's your Focus on Sports. Back to you, Christina.
Bulldog Pantry Neighborhood Market is helping people save money on groceries. Families showed up Saturday for the latest distribution of free food. The neighborhood market runs strictly off of donations, fundraising events, and volunteers. If you are interested in volunteering or donating, you can head to their website. The next market will be March 26th starting at 9 a.m. Make sure to bring a wagon or basket to hold your groceries and wear a mask. You've likely heard about Broadway's play Hamilton. The Tony Award-winning Best Musical is coming to Fresno March 30th to April 10th. This show combines hip-hop and rap in telling the history of America's founding father, Alexander Hamilton. We checked today and there are still tickets available. Just go to Ticketmaster.com. You know, I have to say, I saw Hamilton on Disney Plus and wasn't quite a fan. Mark, will you be purchasing tickets this time?
I honestly might, to be honest, because I actually haven't seen it. I was kind of a little stickler on not seeing it on Disney Plus, but I may actually go give it a shot here in Fresno. By the way, why didn't you like it?
I don't know. I think it was too much rap and hip hop for me. It just didn't fit the scene. I don't know.
All right. Well, next week on Fresno State Focus, we give you some ideas of fun events taking place for St. Patrick's Day.
Plus, there is a great need for water in the San Joaquin Valley. We give you insight into the impact that is having on farmers.
Also, we have the full recap on how our Dogs did at the men's Mountain West basketball tournament.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
And remember to turn your clocks ahead on Saturday night. And also check out Fresno State Focus on Sports.